It was given by your mother's mother, or?
Yeah.
And
It was given... No, it was given by my great-grandmother to my grandmother when she tried to go to America. And then my grandmother gave it to my mother when my grandmother did not succeed to go to America, so she ended up in Scotland. And so when my mother left for America, she gave it to my mother.
So that must be 150 years old and something. And
it's just
definitely
it's astonishing. To me it's amazing. How many hours to make that? How many hundreds of hours?
Hundreds of hours, because it's so tight and made in Lithuania.
Yeah.
With Lithuanian.
So I suppose she even made the thread herself from the flax.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, that's right. So it traveled once, this cloth. It traveled from your grandmother to your grandmother, and then to you by your mother.
Yeah.
Across the Atlantic. We have coffee. So you know more story of your mother than your father?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of growing.
Yeah.
And why? Because she was talking more with you? Or she was
my
telling
father
stories?
was, like an old traditional peasant. He was not very talkative. But when he told, I would love to listen to him tell stories, because he would, he didn't tell stories very often, but when he did, they were great stories. So especially he told stories about his beginning in America. So he arrived, I think he was like 19 or 20. He had one friend. He arrived in Chicago. He worked in factories, very hard work. And then there was a depression around, I don't know, before the First War, somewhere around 1910 or something. And there was no more work he could find in Chicago. So he found a position on a farm, on a horse farm. Again, with no salary, only food. And he said that they made him work hard. And the woman only gave him potato soup. So he those are the stories he told about being a young man trying to survive in America. And I never understood why he left Lithuania. And somehow, when he was very old, I decided to ask him, And then he told me about the Tsarist army, that he would have to be in the Tsarist army for 25 years. And then, then when I went to Lithuania and I met these people on my father's side, I asked again, and they said, yes, that was the reason. Because, otherwise he was the oldest son, and his father was a landowner. He had a farm. And I asked my father, how big was his farm? He said, oh, big. They had people working for them. So he said, they didn't say acres well, you probably know what it was, the old measure of land. It was not acres or hectares.
Hectares.
Was it hectares?
Yes. The old measure, I wouldn't say the old measure. It was hectares and acres, yes. In Lithuania, at least, as far as I know.
He told me that he said that he couldn't say, because in America it's acres, and he didn't know that, the equivalent in Lithuania.
It's ari hectare, so acres and hectares. Yes.
Oh yeah, really?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was this šimtinės. something like that, which is which I need to dig now to really see the meaning of the word. That shows that I am away from land. Yeah, but as far as I know, it's acres and hectares. It's not feet or so. No, that's the measure they used to. Yeah, in Lithuania.
So I was astonished because all my life, my parents gave us the image that Lithuania was misery, was extreme poverty, were houses with dirt floors, and and so they were trying to give us the idea that we should be so grateful that they brought us to America. And then when he told me this story, I said, was it as big as your farm now? And the farm he had at that time was 140 acres, which for America is not very big. It's, when I went to school, I was told that to raise a family in America, the average is you need at least 160 acres. But, he did well because he raised cows and milk and made cheese and so on and sold all this to the Lithuanian people from Chicago. Anyhow, so I said, is it as big as your farm here? He said, oh, much bigger. So I was amazed, because all this, for years, I was told that it was misery back there. And now I realized it was not misery because his father had a big farm. And he was
Lithuania.
And he was the oldest son. So I wondered if he had a bad relationship with his father. My relationship with my father was very bad, as a young boy. So he always was telling me that I was worthless, that I was lazy, that I was unable to do anything, And so I wondered if he was repeating the relationship he had with his father. And I don't know if that's true or not. Because I think there could be a different explanation. Because traditionally, in a peasant family, when the son is 20 years old, the father is 45 and ready to give the son, the farm.
Yes,
and to retire.
Yes, that was tradition to give to the oldest son. Farm.
But my father didn't really begin until he was about 40. So, when I knew my father, he was a farmer. He loved his farm. He was very proud of it. So I think that, he didn't begin until he was about 40 years old. He didn't marry until... And he had a very small farm when he married. And it was the Depression then came. As soon as he bought the farm and got married, then the Depression came. So I think that when I was born, he was not ready to give me the farm. Because, he was only beginning his life. So I think that's another interpretation, why he didn't... Because, every farmer knows how to give the son love of the farm. You have to give the son, you have to cooperate, you have to give the son a partnership. The son has to be a kind of partner. And, but he didn't, he never made me a partner. He always told that I could never drive his tractor. And even when I was 20, 25 years old. He would never let me touch his car, and so I couldn't work in the fields. I couldn't...
He didn't trust you as...
So I think he saw me as a kind of intruder in his life,
Or maybe not in his life, maybe in his work. Maybe.
Right, exactly, yeah. I'm not sure of any of this, this is a kind of interpretation. But I think that's possible.